And after Cuba, we went into the Philippines. And again, McKinley says, why are we going to the Philippines? McKinley, actually, the president didn't know where the Philippines were. They had to point it out to him on a map. This very often happens with presidents. No, really, when that incident happened in the Gulf of Tonkin, 1964, Lyndon Johnson asked, hey, where's the Gulf of Tonkin? Off the coast of San Francisco? No. And so, yeah, we're going to the Philippines. McKinley said to civilize and Christianize the Filipinos. Civilize and Christianize the Filipinos. And so we fought a long and bloody war in the Philippines. It's interesting that in the history books, in the history you learn in school, certainly in history I learned in school, and I think a lot of it still goes on. It's amazing to me very often how the history I learned a very long time ago is not very different today in the history that kids get, but it was always a big attention to what was called the Spanish-American War, where we liberated Cuba. It was a nice, short, victorious war, as a splendid little war, as a cabinet member put it. And then we go into the Philippines, and the war in the Philippines, in our history courses and our history books, does not get the same attention that the Spanish-American War gets. The Spanish-American War lasted 3 months. The war in the Philippines lasted years and years. And there was a kind of a forerunner of Vietnam, of the destruction of villages, of the massacre of Filipino people. And nobody knows exactly how many Filipinos died in the American conquest of the Philippines. 500,000, 700,000, we don't know exactly. It was a huge number. And the United States did not bring democracy to the Philippines in that war. And we've had dictatorship after military dictatorship in the Philippines. And some of you may even remember Marcos, the last of the dictators, finally thrown out, not by the United States, but by his own people. So knowing that history, and you can follow that all the way up through the lies told about World War I, the lies told about, of course, more recently, Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin, and so on. But even more recently, the war in Panama. We're going into Panama. Why? Because there's Noriega, and he's dealing with drugs. No, we don't like that. No, we have a war on drugs. Very successful war on drugs. Yeah, and so we send an army into Panama. We bombard Panama. We destroy neighborhoods. We kill. We don't know how many people killed in Panama, and this isn't that long ago, do we bring democracy to Panama? Do we end the drug trade? The drug trade is flourishing in Panama, even wilder than before, and so on. So history is important in seeing through the deceptions of government and preparing you. Of course, it doesn't tell you definitively that you are being told a lie. There's always a possibility that something new is occurring, that there's a unique event is taking place. And maybe this time you're being told the truth. However, if you know the history, you know what the probability is that you are being told the truth. The probability is very low. Now, behind all of these little lies, right up to the lies that led to the present war in Iraq, and you can have fun with that. We have found the weapons of mass destruction. Bush told a Polish audience, we have found the weapons of mass destruction. He thought, I guess, that the word wouldn't get to the United States, that if he was speaking in Poland, he could get away with it, you see. And Rumsfeld, you may remember, one time said, we know where the weapons of mass destruction are. Well, so but behind all those individual, discrete lies, there are larger ones. And one of the largest is that we have something in common with the government of the United States. That is that the people of the United States and the government of the United States have a common interest. This is something that is perpetuated in the culture, even in the language of the culture, by words like national security and, yeah, the national interest. You will hear a political leader say, well, I'm willing to go to war, but only if it's in the national interest. What is the national interest? Is there a national interest? Or is there their interest and our interest? Is there Bush's interest and my interest? Is Exxon's interest my interest? There's no common national interest. There are various interests. National security is what do they mean by that? Is this a war for national security? Is it a war for somebody's securities? What is it? National defense. I mean, there are words, there are phrases that are supposed to immediately galvanize you into action in defense of whatever war is being proposed at the time. National defense. And the word defense is supposed to immediately tell you that we're defending the nation. And so it shouldn't take much thought to see that if you are sending an army 8,000 miles away, it's hard to attack a country that has shown no sign of attacking you, and it can't possibly attack you, in fact. Hard to call it national defense. But there are these words that bind us together, that pretend that we are one people, one country, one interest, and they don't recognize that there are different interests in this country. So when a young fellow who is approached by a television cameraman who's about to go off to Iraq and saw the same scene repeated again and again with young people being sent off to Vietnam, and young people sent off here, and young people sent off there, and they ask this young fellow who's going off, why are you going? And the young fellow says, I'm doing it for my country. Not doing it for his country. He's doing it for the government. He's not doing it for the American people. They're not going to gain anything from what he's doing. He's doing it for Bush. He's doing it for Halliburton. There's a difference between the government and the country. This is a very important distinction. It's a distinction that the Declaration of Independence makes clear. The basic philosophy expressed in the Declaration of Independence tells you the difference between the country and the government, between the people and the government, because the Declaration says that governments are artificial creations which are set up by the people to ensure certain rights, an equal right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Governments are set up for that purpose by the people, and when governments become destructive of those rights, of those ends, according to the Declaration, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish the government. That's pretty strong language. That's revolutionary language. That's why the Declaration of Independence is not a legal document. It's just something you hang on the schoolroom wall and look at and don't study too closely.